All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's Wednesday webinar. I'm Scott Clayson, the Director of Marketing here for TimeSolv, and you're in the right place to learn the tips and tricks to get the most out of our software. I am going to give about another minute or so to let stragglers head into the meeting room here, so you do have one last opportunity to grab a glass of water and unwrap the sandwich you're going to eat while listening to me, whatever the case may be. So I'll jump back in here in about another minute or so. All right, let's go ahead and get started on today's webinar. Again, just a reminder, this is Scott Clayson. I'm the Director of Marketing here at TimeSolv. And this is our monthly webinar, the second Wednesday of every month. We go through the previous month's tip of the week emails that we've sent out and get to see them in sort of live action as you negotiate your way through TimeSolv. And we do this every month. Want to make sure that all of our users have the opportunity to dig deep into some of the features of TimeSolv, whether they're new features or whether they're features that you may have learned about when you first started using TimeSolv, but if you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing, and you may not remember that we have a feature that you may be looking for as your practice evolves and grows and changes, and just want to make sure that you're getting as much out of using TimeSolv as you possibly can, because our goal is to try to make life as efficient and easy for you as possible when it comes to keeping your time and expenses and creating invoices, sending them, tracking them, recording payments, and so on. So with that being said, everyone is on mute for this session. It is being recorded, so I will be able to send out a link to the recording here in case I move too fast with something or you didn't have a chance to really digest some of the information. You can always go back and review it afterwards. I should have an email out to you all by sometime tomorrow is my guess. The other thing is we do have an area where you can ask questions. There's a Q&A section where you can ask questions. I do, as always, for those that attend this on a monthly basis, ask that you wait until near the end to ask questions, only because I've often seen that a lot of questions somebody might have, actually, I'll maybe answer them, let's say 30 seconds later or a minute later, whatever the case may be. So I definitely want an opportunity to answer any questions you might have. And if I don't know the answer, I will be sure to find out the answer and follow up with an email. So that is the protocol for the webinar. We should take about 45 minutes or so, roughly at the most. I think I know it's an hour blocked off. At least a little bit depends on the topics that we're going to cover this particular day and how in depth we get. But this one I should think would be at the longest 45 minutes. So let's go ahead and unveil the topics we're going to talk about today. The first one is a feature that we've had around for a while, maybe 2 years roughly, I think. But it's not one that gets talked about a lot, and I wanted to circle back to this topic to make sure that everyone is fully aware of the capability that we have when it comes to not just document storage within TimeSolv, but document automation and generating documents based on the various fields of information that you already have about your clients and matters within our system so that you can create documents, personalized individual documents, very quickly and easily for things like intake letters or post matter resolution letters you might send, whatever the case may be. You do have the opportunity to automate a lot of that within TimeSolv. So I'll review that as first. And then there has been an update, a couple of, I think it was 2 webinars, maybe it was in August, Wednesday webinar. We unveiled the feature on how you can bulk copy time entries. Well, now you can not just bulk copy them, but you can bulk move the time entries as well. So I'll run you through exactly how that process works. It's a nice way to quickly generate a whole big block of time entries for another client in Matter. It's almost like you could almost consider like a template you could use of time entries as you complete them for particular areas of practice you might have. And then the third topic is one that we've, for a long time, people who have sat in this webinar, it's a topic we like to revisit maybe once a quarter, and that is talking about contacts again. Our support people do mention that managing contacts tends to be one of the more challenging aspects of negotiating TimeSolv. And of course, I think a lot of that comes down to the user experience, and we've been trying to improve that. We feel like we put some things into place to make it more intuitive and easier for you to manage your contacts. So we'll review some of the information about contacts again. And then another topic that is one that comes up a lot from our support people is just another reminder about how to record payments and how to allocate payments and make allocations from a trust account as well to invoices so that the invoices are actually marked as paid and you know who owes you money and who doesn't owe you money. And TimeSolv, if you're not using it to run your AR, I know a lot of you probably are hooked up to QuickBooks and you might have your AR over there, you might just record all your payments over there, but you can do that here in TimeSolv, sync all that information over into QuickBooks if the case may be, but really keep your you could have a living, breathing AR list that you can view every day in TimeSolv as long as you are recording the payments and allocating the payments towards invoices in TimeSolv. So we'll review those topics as well. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's go ahead and get started. First topic, talking about document automation. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my TimeSolv account here. And a lot of you have probably noticed over time, there's a main navigation area here where you can manage documents. And just as a refresher, there are actually 3 different document storage options for you within TimeSolv if you choose to store documents within our system. One is our native document management tool. The other is you can sync up with Dropbox or you can sync up with NetDocs. And what those do is you can view and download files both from Dropbox or from TimeSolv. So you could, and when you create or upload documents, you can do that from TimeSolv and they would appear in your Dropbox or NetDocuments account. But the other thing what I do want to talk about is document automation and a little bit about how you can manage that within TimeSolv. If you notice, when I'm under the documents and settings here, not only do we have the determining which document storage provider you're going to use, you also can manage tags. You can tag the documents within TimeSolv, which can be very helpful when you're searching for a particular type of document. But these 2 other tabs you may not have done much with before. And these 2 tabs specifically revolve around the document automation you can do with us. So the first one is the merge fields. Under the merge fields, you're going to notice there is a long list of field names here. And you can see these names and it's grouped by the client, by the custom fields you may have created for your clients, by the matter, all the information here about the matter custom fields you may have created, who's actually using the user of TimeSolv right now and their title and so on, and information about today's date. All of these fields can be inserted into a document, and you can create that document right within TimeSolv. You can also see which, if you're drafting a particular letter or automating a document to a specific client and matter, you can choose that client and matter, and you can see what field values already have information in place. In this case, there's a fair amount of information here, but I don't have a, client category or subcategory. I don't have a contact under the matter here, for example. I can see that for this particular client, Aretha, and Aretha's estate plan. So it's one way of seeing if you are going to create automated documents, you can come in and kind of preview what fields even have information available to them right here by just simply choosing your client and matter as you would do in any normal place within TimeSolv. So this shows you the fields available. I think the last time I counted, I think there was like 45. There might be more now because we just added these custom fields as available for document automation just recently. So we might be up to over 50 if I haven't bothered to actually count these by hand. So those are the fields that you can insert into a document. But you also need to have in place, it's a two-step thing here, you need to have a template. You need to have templates that you're going to be using to create the document that you want to insert these fields into. And in this case, for example, I have this welcome letter template that I've uploaded already, and you can upload a new template anytime you want. So what does that look like? Well, this is a Word document, as you can tell. So I'm going to go ahead and download this and open it up. Give me a second here as my Word is opening. Okay, so here is that template. And you can see I've put like the TimeSolv logo up here. But notice these are those merge fields that I showed you before. And they're just placed in this document. Current date, month, whatever the case may be. This letter is to confirm that, okay, whoever the responsible attorney is going to be the lead attorney for your matter name, that we started on this date, and so on. So you can see, you can have a letter, kind of your stock letter that you are going to be maybe using over and over and over again, stock document. You just need to modify a couple of fields. You need to inject that customized information. This is where you do it. So to create it, you would simply come over to the merge fields, determine which ones you want to use, and copy them. And you can copy them one of two ways. Either just simply click and highlight, and then I like to right-click on my mouse and hit copy. Or you can come over here to this little copy button and click it, and that's going to copy this merge field as well. Then you come into your document that is going to be your template, place your cursor wherever you want that field to be inserted into, and then simply you can right-click again and paste, and there it is. You can also Control V if on your keyboard, hold down the Control V. That's for PC users. I can't tell you exactly what it is for Mac users. It's been a long time since I've been on a Mac. But for PC users, doing the right click or Control V will paste in the fields. So you just build out your templated document and you upload it into TimeSolv right here. I mean, you can have as many templates as you need or want. I just have the welcome letter template. And you would simply hit New Template over there on the right to choose any other templates that you have built. Okay? Give it a name. You can tag it as well, make sure it's active, whatever the case may be. So now you have your template in place. It's set up and ready to roll when you're creating those documents. So where do you do that, or how do you do that? You can do it one of two places. Under our documents, we were in settings before. I'm going to go to just documents. And when you are here, you're going to see a list in a folder type of format of all your clients. You can also do a search. You can search by tags and so on. But for the sake of it, I'm just going to click on the first one, the name here, Amir. I'm going to open that, and within that, I have folders for my two matters for Amir, my consultant folder and my July certification work folder. I'm going to open up that matter here. Now I could create a new folder within here I want, or I could create a new document, and that's where we're going to create the automated document by clicking on New Document. So I'm going to click on New Document, and this is where you could upload an existing file by hitting Choose File, or create from template, which is what I want to do. So I'm going to click on Create from Template. This is where you'd be able to choose. If you had multiple templates, you could choose the template you want to use. Obviously, I only have the one, the welcome letter template. But if you had 6, 7, 8 different templates, you would choose the one you want to use. You have 2 options for how this document is going to be outputted. It's either going to be, you can create it as a Word or PDF document. You can give this a name. I'm going to call it the Amir Welcome Doc. I could give it a description. I could give it a tag, whatever the case may be. And I hit save here, and it's going to now generate that specific automated document. And here it is. It's a Word document. You can see the date it was created. You can see who created it and the version that it is. I could either click on it to actually download this document, or you can hit the little preview button like you do with your invoices, and it'll pull up a preview of the document. You can see it's now inserted into those various merge fields the specific information I had about Amir. I have the date, I have his name, I have the address, I have the dear first name, this sort, those sort of things. Okay, so it's all inserted that information. Now just that document is ready to roll. I could print it out and send it directly to Joe Blow, whatever the case may be. Okay, the other place where you can create this automated document, and the other place you can access the documents you store for all of your clients and matters, is under Clients and Matters. You can go to that same, I'm going to go to July certification work. This Amir is my client. The name of the matter is July certification work. And then you will see there's a tab called Documents. And there's that same Amir welcome document I just created. I could create a new document here as well. Same thing. I click on it. I'm going to get the same interface, create from template or upload file. So those are 2 different places where you can view and manage your documents, either right within the matter itself or under Documents, where you can access it in that fashion as well. So again, this is a nice feature that a lot of you may not use or be aware of, that when it comes to document management. This would work as well if you're hooked up to Dropbox or NetDocuments. As long as you have that template created and uploaded here into TimeSolv, then you're good to go roll and create those specific documents that you need. Okay, let's get on to our next topic. I want to talk about the idea of bulk copying and moving time entries, relatively new feature within our system. And this met a need of several clients who, unfortunately, sometimes we make mistakes, right? And there can be a whole number of time entries that are made against the wrong matter or the wrong client, and they have to be moved. And you could only do them one at a time previously. So we allowed the ability to do that in bulk, in mass. And then as well, there was other clients, and once they saw this, asked if there was the ability. So that was just moving time entries from one client and matter to another client and matter. Now we've created also the ability to copy the the time entries into another client and matter, and they'll remain essentially the same. And this is where I was talking at the beginning, where if you have a number of time entries from a previous work that you did for a client and matter, and maybe it's the exact same type of time entries you're going to create for another matter. Let's say it's estate planning, and you have your 7, 8, 9 time entries that you always do for when you're doing this estate planning work, whatever the case may be. In this case, you could take those 7, 8, 9 time entries, you could select them and copy them to another client and matter, and have the exact same information in there, exact same description, obviously meaning to modify the actual time spent. But essentially, you can replicate an entire matter in another location, which is a really kind of handy thing to do. So let's go ahead and walk through how we're going to do that. So first, we need to go and find the time entries we want to either copy or move. So I'm going to go with our time to search. And you can enter your search criteria here. You can do the date. You can do more options. If you click on that, you can see you can search by a specific person who may have made those time entries. You can also search by a specific client and matter. You can also search by the type of time entry that has been created. And you can also search by what billable type it is, no charge, non-billable, or billable. In this case, I'm gonna go down and say, okay, show me all the time entries for client A, matter F. And you can see I have a number of time entries here that meet this date criteria since August 15th. They've all been approved. So they are ready to be placed on an invoice, but have not been placed on an invoice yet. What I want to do, if I want to move or copy these now, say these first two, they need to be moved to a different date, same client and matter, whatever the case may be. You can simply select them, hit this copy and move button or link up here in the upper right hand corner. Notice when I've unchecked these boxes, this is grayed out. So you have to select the time entries you're going to copy or move first. Let's just do a whole batch of them here, these 4. I'm going to copy and move them or move them. And here's the options of how these can be modified as you are either copying or moving them. First of all is you can change the professional that is listed for this time entry. In this case, if you notice over here, this is under my name, Scott Laidlaw, is my dummy name of my admin for this account. But I could choose another professional, let's say Tony Hill. Change the date. Obviously, these you can move these all to a specific date. You could say, okay, we're going to move them all to Monday. This is where you would change then, obviously, the client and matter. So let's just say we're going to do, this was actually under the wrong, same client, wrong matter. Let's move it to matter B. You can change the task codes if need be. You can leave them alone if need be. And this is where then you obviously have the option. Either you're moving these entries totally, and these, when you hover over this, notice it'll say only time entries with the status that they're new, submitted, rejected, or approved can be moved. In other words, they can't have the pending status or billed status. You can't move time entries that have been placed on a draft invoice or have already gone out on an invoice. Can't do it. These are only for entries that are, this is pre-billed type of action for moving these. So we're going to, obviously that doesn't matter when it comes to copying, because copying time entries means the original ones are remaining in place. So it's okay to copy a time entry that's already been submitted and put on a bill. It makes just logical sense. So I'm going to move these to client A, matter B. I'm going to hit move. Notice that those 4 entries disappeared from my list here. If I go under my time entries in my regular screen, and I go over to Tony Hill, I was like, where'd they go? But I did it for Tony Hill. Now you can see on that Monday date, I have now moved all these entries to a different date, different timekeeper, essentially. I didn't do anything else with it. So that's the move function. And then the copy function is just as we described. So if I do this again, take these remaining 4, and I'm going to, instead of moving them, I'm going to copy them. I'm going to keep the same professional, but I want to copy them all to last week, last Wednesday, let's say, and I want to copy them to a whole different plan and client. The client's Burnett title is the Clayson closing, and I'm going to copy them. Oh, task code was required for this. Okay, all right, good to know. By the way, if you leave these blank, if you don't, I don't need to necessarily select myself if I'm going to keep them for myself. So if you leave this blank, it's going to take on the attribute of the original when you're copying these, just as an FYI. Maybe we do a different. Let's Clayson closing 2. We'll just say they're all going to be asset disposition, whatever, copy. Now you see these original entries, nothing's changed with them. They're still there. They're still living their best life as a time entry. But as you go over here to the time entry screen, okay, and you go back over to my time entries, and here we are on the 6th, and now we've copied those same exact time entries, same hours, same everything, same descriptions. over into a different client and a different matter. And obviously now, if I need to edit them, I can. I can change the time that is associated with each of these entries if need be. But the point is, it's a faster, easier way now. If for whatever reason there is in a large way, you need to do 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 time entries, move them to a different client and matter, or copy them to a different client and matter. Now you're able to do that easily and quickly. Okay, let's get on to our next topic, understanding contacts. This one is near and dear to our hearts. We know there's a lot of people that, especially haven't said in this webinar before, you may not, the managing contacts can be sometimes challenging within TimeSolv, and we have tried to do some fixes in place to help that. But let's review that briefly. First of all, when you're looking at, if you notice, when you're under clients, you do have a whole contacts section. This is where every contact you've ever had will be listed. You can create a new contact. You can also look up potentially duplicate contacts, and that's based on email address. Okay, so you have that here. So you can add contacts here. Just they don't have to be associated with any client or any matter at all. They're just here. It's like your contacts list. If you want to associate them with a specific client or matter, you can find them here, search for them, find them, and then you could hit associations. When you do that, all of your client and matters are going to come up, and you can associate them with an entire client at the client level. So there's no matter here. The client level, or specifically a matter for that client. Now, I don't think a lot of people probably work their contacts in this fashion. I think what a lot of people probably do is they look to add contacts specifically when at the client level or the matter level. And it's simply a matter of, as most of you probably know, you want to click on, I'm going to try to find one that doesn't have a contact listed here. This one doesn't, for example. At the client level, I clicked on contacts. By default, it's going to first show me all contacts that are associated right now with this client. Right now, there's nothing to show. I could say, show me all your contacts, and it's going to pull in my entire contact list, just like we just saw. And then you could click on it and associate it if that person already is in your system. If they're not, then you can create a new contact here. So we're going to click on New Contact. And this is an important thing to understand. You have 4 different labels of what type of contact this is. Either they're the main contact, an optional invoice contact, which I'll talk about in a second, a related party, or an other. For the sake of what contact is going to appear on your invoice, you want to concern yourself with either they're the main or optional invoice. And you can then fill out all the information about this particular person and hit save. And let's go ahead and create a new contact and call them the main contact. Okay, so we're going to call this Darwin Quintero. He plays soccer for Minnesota United here in Minneapolis. And then you could have email address. I'll just do my main email address, different mailing address, 1234 Main Street, whatever the case may be. Phone number, office number, that's my cell phone. You guys don't want to see my cell phone. You don't want to be bugging me. And I'm going to hit save. So it's going to show me that they're listed as the main contact. So now I have a contact at the client level. Now let's go down and look at matters within my client, Bob Smith. I have one one matter I'm working on for him, it looks like, and that's Smith versus Wesson. Yeah, get it? Anyway, so we're going to click on that matter to display it. I'm going to go to contacts. And notice, and this is the change that we've made, and this is what it was confusing people, is it'll show you who the default invoice contact is right now. And by default, it's going to be whoever is listed at the client level. If you're working on multiple matters for a client and only the main contact is the only contact that needs to see the invoices, or there's only one person that needs to receive the invoices for all of those various matters that you're working on, just place them at the client level. You don't need to list them again at the matter specific level, okay? However, we do know there's a lot of firms who they might be working on multiple matters for a company of some sort, and the matter they're working on in one department has nothing to do with the matter they're working on for another department, or whatever the case may be, and there's separate contacts. for those separate matters, all for the same umbrella client. In that case, you would want to have a new contact specifically at the matter level. You could list them as the main contact. Then when you generate an invoice for this specific matter, it's going to pull the contact at the matter level. I've said this before and I'll keep repeating it. TimeSolv is very much a hierarchy type of file system in which it will always look at the most granular level first for information. And if there's nothing there, it'll go up one more level, then up one more level, then up one more level. In this case, when we're generating an invoice and we're trying to determine what contact should we place on that invoice, it's first going to check at the matter level. Is there a contact listed here? No. Now it's going to go up and say, well, what contact do we have listed at the client level? Well, Darwin Quintero with this address. This is the contact information that would be placed on the invoice. I mentioned a second ago the optional invoice as a contact type that can throw a wrinkle in this, and here's how and why. Oftentimes you might have a main contact for the matter you're working on or the client you're doing work for. They don't want to see the invoice. They're like, no, send the invoice to my accountant. I don't necessarily need to see it. I don't want to see it, or if I want to see it, I want to just be CC'd on it, whatever the case may be. In that case, if there needs to be a different name and address on the invoice other than the main contact, that's where you want to use the contact type of optional invoice. So let's do that. Let's go back up to the client level. And let's create a new contact. Okay, and this time I'm going to say that this type is optional invoice. And the first name is Mason, and the last name is Tori. Again, another striker from Minnesota United soccer team. Okay, I'm going to hit save. Now, when we generate the invoice, the system's going to check and say, do we have any contacts that are listed as optional invoice types? If yes, that name now will be on the invoice. Great. Again, if they're receiving the invoice for every single matter you're working on, if you have multiple matters, just keep them at the client level. Don't dive down to the matter level. If you do have, again, same thing, at the matter level, you can also have a contact that is contact type optional invoice. And it would check, again, TimeSolv is going to check. Not only am I going to check TimeSolv, and I say I as if I'm the computer algorithm. TimeSolv is going to first check, is there a contact listed at the matter level? If it's a yes, it'll say, is it optional invoice type? No. Is it main contact type? Yes. Then that name would be put on here. If there's no name at all associated, like you see here, it'll roll up to the client level. Is there a contact type listed as optional invoice? Yes. Boom. It's going to put its name on there. That's where people get a little bit confused about what name is going to appear on the invoice. If you have a contact type listed as optional invoice, they're always going to precede the main contact type. So that's just very important to understand. And as I mentioned before, there was the, what if the CEO or whoever says, yeah, just CC me on the invoice. That's where you can go to your invoice settings here and go into this additional emails for invoice delivery and type in their email address. Then they'll be CC'd. And I believe you can do that also up at the client level. Yeah, additional emails. So if the main contact does want to just be CC'd on the email that sends the invoice, add the email here and make sure you hit save at the bottom, okay? So that's a high-level look at how to manage your contacts and the difference between an optional invoice contact and a main contact. Okay, last couple of minutes here. Let's go ahead and talk about trust and payment allocations, making sure that we're recording payments within TimeSolv and then allocating them towards your invoices, or if you have trust accounts, making sure again that you're recording the payments to a trust account in TimeSolv and then allocating towards invoices so you can tell if invoices have been paid. It's a fundamental thing that every law firm should be doing, although I'm constantly surprised when I hear from our support people about the number of law firms that contact us who have issues mainly because they've never recorded or allocated payments to invoices. So they just never know, has an invoice ever been paid, which is not a healthy way to run your business. So again, we're gonna go under our payment. First of all, you get paid. Let's just step back. You sent your invoices, they're out, the payments start rolling in, and you got just boatloads of checks and credit cards and such you need to process and record payments. So you want to go under payments here. Again, you can do this here and sync this all over into your QuickBooks account. We're going to go under payments, and there's really is two separate sections here to this payments and credits screen. This top level where you're actually recording a payment, and then down here where you can actually allocate a payment. So it's pretty simple to record the payment. You have today's date, you can change it to whatever date you want, and obviously you want to select what client and matter is this for. So in this case, I think I have, let me see which invoices I need to still have paid. And I think I have, let me go last 90 days. There I have a $25,000 invoice. I only have $359 of a payment against this particular expansion contract, Aviante software. Okay, so I'm going to record a payment here. Just go all to, let's see what's here. Okay, let's do this. I have this Larry and Larry's new matter, okay, that I sent them the invoice on September 19th. And they've now, no, actually, that's not a good one because it's already been allocated. It's for reallocate. I'll just stick with this Aviante software. So I'm going to say Aviante software, right? Expansion contract. You can see I have a number of different matters that I'm working on with Aviante, several, okay? This one is specifically for this expansion contract. They paid me by check. This is where you could choose the type of payment that was received. Reference number is usually like a check number. And let's say that they have now paid me $5,000. And I can create some notes here. I'm going to hit save. Okay. So now you can see it's showing me that I have this payment type. There was a check, $5,000, and so on. If I need to do a credit memo, this is where I could do that and apply it to an invoice, or you could write off an invoice. So this credit type is important as well. Now I'm going to go and look at what payments do I have that I can allocate here. And you can see I have $359 from a previous payment that was made on October 3rd, and I have this $5,000 that payment was recorded today. And I have still money to allocate. So I'm going to hit allocate here. And you can see for the expansion contract payment, I actually have, looks like it paid off that invoice. So I'm going to instead allocate it to some of these other events or invoices that I have. And I did that by just simply clicking on this, include all matters for the client. I have $5,000 available. I'm going to allocate it to my oldest invoice, which is from May of 2017. Let's say it's this one here, to invoice number 172. I'm going to allocate it. And it's showing me I'm going to allocate, boom, boom, boom. And now I have $395 left of available funds to allocate. So that's one way you can do that. Yeah, making sure you record your payments. The other way that I like is you can go to your sent invoice screen. And when you look at your sent invoices for a particular date, you can see what has been paid, what hasn't been paid. And if you have a payment that comes in, like this Filbert Matter, they owe me $3,945. Let's record a payment. They just paid me. So I'm going to click on this actual pay icon. It's going to take me back to that payment screen. It's already going to pre-populate the client and matter. I'm going to choose the method here and so on. And I know that he paid me $3,000 of that. Great. Okay, so we have $3,000 available. Let's allocate it. So I'm going to click on the allocation button. I'm going to see that the balance is $3,945. Available funds is $3,000. If I have other matters, I could check that. Nope, I don't. It's the only one out there. I'm going to hit allocate. I'm going to hit save. Now when I go in here and look at my sent invoice screen, it's going to show me that now the balance is down to $945. So it's not paid off yet. This is where I was mentioning, this could be your running AR screen where you could have show me all sent invoices since June 1st, let's say. There's a whole big long list. Then I can come over here and I can sort it by the balance due. Yay, these people have all paid me. Great. Let's click this one more time. Here's everybody that owes me money from the one who owes me the most on top down to who owes me the least, and then the paid people. Who am I calling first today to get payment? March webinar, because they owe me $5,000. Next on the list, Larry, then Jerry, Aretha, Vicky, so on, by amount. You can sort it by date if you wanted to. So you see who has the oldest invoice, and you can see right now the oldest one I have here is June 13th, oldest one that's unpaid from June 13th, so you can do it in that fashion as well. I think this is a great way to use your sent invoice screen as you're running AR. What about trust payments? Very similar. Under your payments, you want to go to trust. And again, you can record a payment, a deposit transaction here, record payment to the trust account for a specific client and matter that you've already set up. And we're not getting into a lot about how you set up your trust accounting, but just understand here now that I can see you want to select, show me all, allocatable trust accounts that I have, that I can allocate money towards an invoice for a particular date. And it came up with all of these. So it can show that I have a balance of $5,000 here for this East Hampton zoning permit. Let me allocate it. When I did it, it's going to look just like that payment screen. It shows me, and I can include all matters for the client. In this case, I only have one. It can show me a balance of an invoice of $1,116 that I did back on June 13th. And that I can now transfer that out of my trust account and allocate it to that balance, to mark that invoice as having been paid, and it will have been paid from the trust account. So I'm going to hit transfer and allocate. It's going to show me everything I have here. Hit save. Now my available funds has gone down to, as you noticed before we hit that screen, $3,800. And if I go over here to my sent invoice screen, I think it was June 13th, there it is, that East Hampton zoning permit. Now it's marked as paid because I allocated money from the trust account that I'm keeping track of here in TimeSolv. Now there is a way around that, of course, and that is that you can set up your trust accounts for your clients and matters so that when you send an invoice, it'll automatically pay the invoices from the trust account and mark them as paid. And it's a nice feature. It saves the steps of what I just showed you. So let's go to this particular matter here. When you're looking at a matter, you always, if you have trust accounting turned on, you can see your trust tab. You click on that. I've set up a retainer as the name of the trust for this particular matter. It shows me all the history here of what's happened. But I can click on the name here that I called it, retainer, and you can check this box that says auto pay invoices from this trust. When I check that now, next time I send an invoice out of TimeSolv, as soon as I send it, it's going to be marked as paid, and it's going to automatically transfer money from the trust account to allocate to the invoice and mark that invoice as paid. And you may have noticed when you click on here and you set this up, you also can even, and we haven't covered this in a while, and maybe I need to do this on one of the future webinars, you can even put in if the trust account falls below a certain amount of money, to replenish it to a certain amount of money. So if it falls below $500, replenish it to $5,000. Then the next time you send out an invoice, it will reflect the fact that the trust account is below this number that you designated, and there will be asking for payment up to replenish it to whatever number you have here. So these are nice features you can use to keep that trust account where it's been agreed it should be. Okay, that covers it. That covers everything today. We're just about out of time. It's about 1:15. I will take any questions that anybody might have at this point. Let you type in. Give you a minute here. All right, I don't see any questions coming across. Okay, that's good. Or anything in our chat. So I guess I must have done a decent enough job showing everybody the various features here today. I will let you all then get about the rest of your day. I will send out a recording to this with a link to rewatch this if you'd like. And again, let me put this up on the screen so that you, if you have any questions about anything within TimeSolv, always make sure you get a hold of us at support@timesolv.com is our email. You can call us at that 1-800 number you see. You can also make suggestions for improvements upon TimeSolv at timesolv.ideas.aha.io. And you can also search and look for other ideas that have already been submitted. Maybe your idea already has been submitted by people. And I do have a couple questions that came in. Great. Okay, so can you enter an expense auto-generated to come up on each client? Yeah, there is a recurring expenses, and I won't go into the details about it, but you can set up a recurring expense. And you can, if you're watching this, hopefully, Amanda, under expenses, recurring expenses, then set new recurring expense entry. You can choose the matter or client. You can say who's making the expense entry, and then kind of fill in how the frequency, daily, weekly, monthly, annually, whatever the case may be, when's it going to start, and so on. So yes, you can do that. And it'll be auto-generated every day or every week or whatever the case may be. And then Poonan had a question, the difference between allocatable and unallocated payments. Unallocated means that, well, actually, I think it says as we hover over here. Here we go, it's right here. Allocatable, payments which have been unallocated, which have an unallocated balance greater than 0 when there's at least one unpaid client or matter. Unallocated, payments have unallocated balance greater than 0. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So you can always hover. I never realized that if I hovered over it, it would give an explanation of the difference. Okay, and Amanda had a follow-up question. Can it be auto-generated on all client accounts, even new ones? For example, an e-file flat fee of $30. I don't believe so. Excuse me here a second. Excuse me, I had a cough. I don't believe that you can do like just automatically set an expense every time you create a new client or a new matter or check a box. I'm going to double check that to make sure, but I'm almost positive you cannot. That you would have to set up that recurring expense every time. The good news is once you do have it, you set it up the one time, you could duplicate it and copy it to another client and matter. So it would be, once it's done the first time, that e-file, $30 flat fee, it could be put up there. You could also, I guess you could probably do it as part of your a plan that would automatically place it, but I'm not sure about that either. I'll have to double check with that in a minute. It's a good question. So let me make note of that here. Okay, I will find out that answer and send you a direct message on that, because that's a good question. And I agree that if it's not something, that would be a great thing to put over in that ideas portal, that suggestion portal that I showed here, the TimeSolv at ideas.aha.io. When you go to that page, if you haven't been there previously, what you'll see is just a list of all the various feature requests. And the good news is you can upvote on the feature requests, because that obviously is one way that we actually determine what to develop next. So that you can see trending, you can see recent ones, you can see what's planned, what's shipped. I think we've had some shipped that haven't been marked as shipped yet. And this is where you could add a new suggestion right here. So, okay, any other questions? I will then let you all go. And I hope you all have a fantastic rest of the day, rest of the week. And our next Wednesday webinar will be our last one of 2019. I can't even believe I'm saying that. It's going to be Wednesday, December 11th. So mark your calendars, register if you haven't already for it, and we will see you same time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, 10 a.m. Pacific. So everybody have a great rest of the day.